While the Marvel Cinematic Universe may be the dominant Uber franchise of the past decade, with more superheroes than you can think of being thrown at you every 4 to 6 months, there is also another cinematic setting, full of superheroes that hasn't quite reached the monoculture heights of Marvel's films. One that has a handful of good to great movies that showcase the best of what their characters have to offer. One that is sadly best known for its missteps and tone deafness to its source material more than anything else.
Boys! Bruce Wayne meets Clark Kent. I love it. I love bringing people together. How are we?
Lex?
Hi, hello. Lex, it is a pleasure. Ow! Wow, that is a good grip. You should not pick a fight with this person.
I am of course talking about the DC Extended Universe. In a similar vein to One Marvelous Scene, Ariana Alexis issued the challenge for video essayists to find and share their favourite DC film scenes, which is great because it gives me the perfect opportunity to talk about one of my personal favourite superhero movies, Shazam. Shazam is a big meets Superman film directed by David Sandberg based on the comics of the same name from DC Comics, loosely adapting the most recent incarnation of the character that spun out of the New 52 relaunch of the DC Comics line in 2011. It is a really good movie, and more importantly, a fun superhero movie that celebrates the genre while playing in the DC sandbox. It is a story of friendship, family, and growing up. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Trust me, you will not be disappointed.
Say my name.
Really?
The scene I want to highlight from it is the mid-credit scene of the film, where Dr. Sivana meets Mr. Mind. I love the film as much as I do in part because it is peppered with weird and wonderful moments like this, with this scene in particular being one of the most out there examples of a concept I call going full comic book. For a film to go full comic book, it needs to do or show something that you think would only ever happen in the pages of a comic book. Those big, crazy ideas and concepts that you could never imagine seeing on screen because studio heads and the people who finance these movies would worry that a large part of the audience would feel very alienated by it, due to it being too weird, cheesy, or just plain silly. To go full comic book is to fly in the face of the traditional Hollywood approach of downplaying the more esoteric and zany parts of a comic book. So, while the standard superhero movie thing is to take a character like, say, the Falcon, remove his ability to talk to birds and change his companion, Redwing, into a drone with a red paint job, to make him feel more in tune with the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe setting and be a bit more realistic. To go full comic book is to have a character like Ego the Living Planet in your film and actually show him as a planet with a giant face on it, even if only for the briefest of moments. To make an Aquaman movie and embrace the insanity of it all by having people riding giant seahorses, octopuses playing drums, and more weirdness than you can shake a fish at. To go full comic book is to hinge the second act of your biggest film to date on a convoluted time travel plot that follows the rules of Marvel time travel, rather than the conventional movie time travel rules audiences have come to expect.
Think about it. If you travel to the past, that past becomes your future, and your former present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your new future.
Exactly.
So Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit?
In short, going full comic book is to show these superhero characters and stories in their full, out there glory, and revel in it. Shazam is full of these moments and ideas, from Shazam's costume design being so larger than life and full of colour that it almost seems cartoonish, to alligators playing cards, to Billy sharing his power with his new family, turning them all into superheroes at the end of the story. The film embraces the inherent cheese and weird fun of the Shazam comics, all while keeping it grounded within the world of the film, with the mid-credit scene probably being the best example of going full comic book I've seen in a long while. Come on, just look at him. He's a magic space caterpillar worm thing. It doesn't get weirder than that. The scene also works well because it feels like an organic endnote to the film. The very tiny, pun intended, Mr. Mind subplot just manages to squeeze itself into the background action of the film, with the camera lingering on it just enough to give a loosely defined story arc. The first time we see Mr. Mind, he's being held captive in the jar in the Rock of Eternity, a fun little Easter egg for comic fans and an interesting creature being held amongst a lot of other weird magic stuff for the rest of the audience. Later, when we return to the Rock of Eternity, we see the jar is broken and Mr. Mind is gone. A nice little payoff to his earlier appearance. Again, for comic book fans, just knowing he is free is exciting because he is such a great character. This is because, despite appearances, Mr. Mind is one of the most dangerous beings in the entire DC universe, who, at the peak of one of his schemes, almost managed to eat the entire multiverse in the seminal weekly series 52. He may look funny, but trust me, you don't want to mess with this telepathic Venusian worm. Finally, we get back to our key mid-credit scene, which perfectly pays off this little subplot. Here we see Mr. Mind in all his kooky glory, right at the end of the film, to deliver the hook for the next adventure. His condescending tone and croaky speaker box delivered voice,
I named the gods, Doctor, not the other way around.
Contrasting with the manic and confused Dr. Savannah. It is one of those perfect moments in a superhero movie, one that had me smiling a smile of pure joy in the cinema during my first viewing. It is weird, wonderful, and unique. It fits in with the tone of the rest of the film and enhances it, teasing you with the possibility that the next Shazam film will be bigger, bolder, and brighter than this one. Because that is what makes Shazam so special as a movie. It is fun and full of love for this set of characters. It doesn't downplay the old-fashioned nature of the comics. It doesn't try to explain away magic as science we just don't understand. Shazam embraces almost everything I love about the comics. And while it does have some big omissions like the lack of Mr. Talkie Tawny, the anthropomorphic tiger who helps the Shazam family, it is all still present within the film in one form or another, with Tawny's presence being felt through the recurring tiger imagery that is tied to Billy Batson's character. More kooky weirdness to be picked up and ran with in a future film, possibly, maybe, I hope. This mid-credits tease, while taking several pages from the Marvel Studios playbook, represents a change in approach for the DC films. For me, this talking green worm caterpillar thing represents the end of the grim darkness of the Snyder era. It shows Warner Brothers are willing to lean into the core concepts and unique vibe of the DC universe, a setting where anything can and will happen, doubling down on character-first storytelling over creating a highly interconnected web of films. They've learnt the lessons of chasing after Marvel Studios too quickly, and now happy to let their films do their own thing for a bit. Then, maybe down the line, try building up to a team movie worthy of being called the Justice League. Shazam is a special movie that not enough people have seen. It showcases the things I dearly love about superhero storytelling from the comics, and puts it front and centre on the big screen. That is why this weird little scene of an angry bald man talking to a green worm is my one decent scene.